KSFYF Sports, man. It's Lamont. We're back with another podcast video, man. It's another special video today. It's not a normal podcast. Today we actually bringing a special guest on to the show. Just for a little quick interview, and we just gonna talk basketball today. We just gonna chop it up. This is one of the brothers from over at Ticket TV. You know, we always debating basketball and different things regarding, you know, Draymond Green, Chris Webber, all of these NBA players that you guys hear us talking about over at Ticket TV. So you guys, if you're not familiar with Ticket TV, make sure you go over there and subscribe to the man's channel. He got some crazy basketball points, but the man does put out good content. So again, definitely go check my man Ticket TV out. Go subscribe to his channel. You can catch us over there almost every night debating on all types of sports topics. Today, again, we just bringing you a regular podcast. We're going to be just chopping it up about NBA, what's going on with COVID-19, and just a lot of the players that we actually talk about over on Ticket TV's channel. So we got a special guest. But before we get into all that, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Again, the only way you can stay up to date on all of the videos that we have coming out is you hit the notification bell. We try to drop at least 2 videos a day. And again, we cover all topics, all sports-related topics, entertainment-wise as well. So you want to be up to date on the videos that come out. So make sure you hit that notification bell, please. Make sure you also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Again, a lot of content over there on those social media platforms as well. And again, if you guys want to reach out to us, please hit us up in the DM. If you got any questions, concerns, if you want to jump on the show, or if you got any things you want us to talk about on the show, hit us up in our DMs, and we definitely will reach back out to you. So again, like I said before, we got a special guest, man. I'm gonna go ahead and bring him into the show, man. He has a curious. I've been always curious about this man's name, where he got his name from. So again, we just gonna go ahead and bring him into the show. His name is Mr. BigChest. Mr. BigChest from Ticket TV, man. This is one of the guys, man. Just like LB, Too Raw, Mahari, I systematically debunk these guys on a night in, night out basis on the debate stage. And, you know, we got him here on the show, man. He wanted to come join the hot seat today, so we're going to put him on the hot seat with a few basketball topics, but we also just going to chop it up about what's going on in the NBA, man. How you doing, Mr. BigChest?
Doing good, man. How are you?
Hey, man, tell us the first thing we want to just get out the way is how did you get this name, Mr. Big? Is this do you self-proclaim Mr. BigChest, or somebody give you this nickname? Where did that come from?
I just came up with it off the random, just something random.
So it's not sports related or nothing?
It's not. The only thing, people thought that I was trying to copy Antonio Brown, but I was like, nah, man, I just came up with it off the random.
Oh, man. Giving yourself nicknames, y'all. Hey, I mean, at least we know where it comes from now. Mr. BigChest gave himself the nickname Mr. BigChest, so it really don't come from nowhere. But, you know, one of the craziest topics that we talk about, we're going to jump on this early. We're just going to get it out the way early. Just to get it out the way before we touch on all these basketball topics, man. What is everybody's beef with Draymond Green, man? What's going on with Draymond Green? What's the beef?
I mean, like, me personally, I don't know about Ticket and LB, but me personally, I'm cool with Draymond. I was cool with Draymond before, like, 2016, like, when he started saying stuff about Charles Barkley and just, saying outlandish stuff. I understand from a basketball perspective that, he's not going to be averaging 25 and 10 like Steph and Clay does. His role is to be the facilitator. So, and, even though I wouldn't have a problem with him averaging a triple single if he wasn't just talking. That's my only problem with him. I don't have, like, a personal hate for him like Ticket and them does. I just don't like him talking trash, like saying that, talking trash about legends when, you average a triple single. That's where I draw the line.
Okay. So is it the trash talking? Or is
it's like, look, I can do the trash talking to, like, current players, but, like, when you start talking trash to legends, like, even though, like, you talking trash to legends, like, you better than them, and you start lambasting them and just being disrespectful, man, there has to be a cutoff point. If you're going to, like, talk like you all big and bad, your numbers should reflect that. That's my opinion.
Well, but a lot of these legends came at him. He just didn't start talking about him out the blue.
I mean, like, honestly, in my opinion, like people are gonna talk, and in my opinion, those that have the decorum and the accolades, as Superman Defunct says, I think they have a certain space to talk. But even though I don't know which one started, but like even though like they started talking to Draymond, I feel like Draymond's response, got really disrespectful. Like there is a way to respond to certain criticisms and certain things that you may not like, but to go back and disrespect, like their character, like their manhood, like some of the things he said, it doesn't, it doesn't roll well. And then like the modern, now with the modern stuff that he's doing now, with the interview with Maverick Carter, I think, where Maverick Carter was talking about Steph and how he would toss, just destroy him. And I know they was joking, but like I think Curry took it seriously, and I think Curry was upset that Draymond didn't defend him because they're supposed to be dogs, and he might not know that Curry may have took it seriously, and you don't know how that relationship is repaired.
Now, see, I know we have the off the court aspect with Draymond, and then we have the on court stuff, which that's his actual game. With regards to the off the court stuff, one of the main reasons why I don't really like to dig too deep into off the court stuff is because I see the inner workings of how these teams work on a day-to-day basis. And I know that the perception that we have as fans from the outside looking in is never what's actually going on the inside, and that's just with my short time with the team I'm working for now. So that's why I never really touch on that stuff, because again, that's all just us taking a guess. Like we can only guess that Steph Curry's upset with Draymond Green. Have I been told that he's upset? No, I've been told that they're just fine. But again, we can only take guesses. I like to stick to the on the court stuff, because the narrative on Ticket TV is that Draymond Green is a bum. Do you feel that he's a bum? And we're talking strictly basketball only, just strictly the game of basketball. Is Draymond Green a bum? And is he deserving of everything that's came his way?
I mean, like, first team, I think for me, Draymond, he's an above average player and he fits well into his role. Now, I'm not gonna say he's a Hall of Famer because he isn't, but he's certainly not a bum because he produces. And I feel like certain people think that just if you don't average like 19, 20 points, 10 rebounds a game, like that you're a bum. I say if you're not producing on the court in some form or fashion, if you're just a vegetable on the court, you're worthless to the team. You're not helping the team in any way. So if you're doing something, I understand for certain people points do matter, but in Draymond's case, he wasn't like the Warriors didn't pick him to drop 30 and 10 a game. He was literally he was averaging a triple single in college and still was Big Ten player that won the Big Ten Players of the Year. I think.
No, he was averaging double figures in college.
Yeah, double figures. Well, yeah, but no, his freshman year he wasn't. But
no, he rode the bench. He rode the bench his freshman year.
Yeah,
he rode the bench.
But he's still but I don't think the Warriors didn't draft him to just be the scoring machine. It's just I understand why people like Ticket and James and LB they get pissed off because in my opinion there's some things that he said that should have been left unsaid, but that's that's our opinion. When I'm not saying he's a bum because he said that or he's a bum because it's or what he's done on the court or nothing. I think he's an above average player, and I think that would be a fair assessment of him.
That's cool. No, I respect that. I consider him definitely an above average player, and then on occasions, I can. This is how I consider Draymond Green an above average player, who on occasion has played at an all-star level. On occasion, so I'm not. There's players who consistently play at an all-star level night in, night out. Draymond Green hasn't been that type of player to play at an all-star level night in, night out. But on a night in, out basis, he's above average. Especially at his position with what he does. Like I said, I don't even want to get down the whole list of accolades. Again, I just wanted to touch on that because a lot of people just had his. They look at his stat line. I mean, for his career, I think he's averaging like 9 points a game, and they base his point total. They use that as an evaluation of his entire game. Like, that's not what he brings to the Golden State Warrior team. That's not when you're on a team with Steph, Clay, KD, and then you even got guys on the bench like Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala who can score. In the past, Harris and Barnes. You don't need a guy like Draymond Green to come in and drop 25 or 30. There's really not enough. There's not enough basketballs to go around for him to even drop 25 or 30 with all of those scores. He has to come in. He has to do. His role is to come in and defend at a high level. He has to push the ball. And one of the things that made the Golden State Warriors so lethal is that you have elite shooters who can now run the floor, as opposed to dribbling the ball up the court like most teams, because your power forward can be the point forward from time to time, and now you got elite shooters in transitions. Is why you see the Warriors jacking up threes in transition. They blow teams out early. But like I said, I just wanted you can get the last word in on Draymond. But again, like I said, it's just the narrative that people go around and say he's a complete bum. Like, I see it all the time in the chat on Ticket TV. People just say he's a bum. But there's no stat or analytic that shows he's a non-productive player on the court. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, I can feel where you coming from. It's just hey, I get like Tiki, and then like I get upset with the man because of some of the stuff like he said, and I'm like and I say stuff, but it's not. I can't say he's a bum because he's been valuable. I mean, very few people can do what Draymond does, as a facilitator, and he has had moments where he has the occasional 20-something point game. I think he had a triple double like back in the 2015 regular season. It was like 29 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists, something like that. So he's had his moments. It's just I think this year, like when Curry and Clay were hurt, and it was like the 5th game up until like the 52nd game. It's just I think he said some stuff previous years, and I think a lot of people feel like, oh, this is your year to show that you can do that. And when it didn't happen, it was jumped on it like that.
Okay. See, I have an article here, man. That, and if I can get it to load here, it's something that Steve Kerr said, and back in November 2019. This is early on in the season, and see, this is why I really don't read too much into what happened last year, because again, when we're on Ticket TV and we hear Ticket do this a lot, Too Raw for TV does it a lot, we can only rely on the reports that come out as far as getting information about what's going on with these teams, players. And so when Steve Kerr comes out and his statement was, we purposely kept him under 24 minutes a game. And he talks about how tonight, because the game was more he said if the game was more competitive, they would have left him in. He was talking about a game against Miami. But he says he needs to be on the floor to help guide these young players. We have to find a balance for him to make an impact on this team, but not wear him down at the same time. So that's Steve Kerr talking about Draymond Green's production this year. And a little earlier on in the article, he was talking about how Draymond Green came into the season with a serious heel injury. And then as soon as he started to recover from the heel injury, he had a hand injury on his shooting hand, which as a shooter, he's already not a very good shooter. To have an injury on his shooting hand is probably going to affect his shooting even more. So he had injuries back to back. He was placed on minutes restriction. I mean, he was averaging 28 minutes a game, but that was primarily due to the heavy minutes that he played early on, but not towards the end of the season. Do you feel that? Do you feel that he should have? Like, I want to know, why do you feel he should have taken this season, which was a pointless season for the Warriors anyway? They get nothing to gain. They gain nothing out of putting Draymond on the court, and he's playing 40 minutes a game just to prove anything. Do you feel he should have risked his body after signing a $100 million contract to play this season on a team that, even if he plays his best basketball, is going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA at best?
Um, from a monetary standpoint, no. Like I understand, like Steph gets that third game. Clay's already out for the season. You basically know you're going to be one of the worst teams in the NBA. So one of the worst teams in the NBA. So monetarily, no. But then again, it goes back to me personally. Is like I feel personally like Draymond furnished all this pain, and I feel like he talked all this stuff. He talked all this stuff, and maybe that's him being boosting his confidence. That's maybe him. Put boosting himself up, or him saying I'm boosting the team up. I'm the emotional leader when he does all this stuff, but he's rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. And part of me is like, if you say all this and all that, regardless of the monetarily, regardless of your health, just I want to see it. I want to see you show it. And I think that's where Chicken and LB comes from. Is like, you know, you came from you put all this pain out there, you put all this stuff out there, and personally, I don't think they care. What it was for. It's just you did this, you did that anyway. Do it. Show us what you can do. Show us what you can really do. Prove us wrong.
Now,
And
and I don't mean to cut you off. So, what I'm saying, so are you saying that, like, because what I hear from Ticket and those guys a lot is that he didn't average 10 points a game. They always say he could have averaged at least 10 points a game. My thing is it simply because of the scoring alone? Like, is that the only thing they want to see? And do you think that because they continue to focus just on the scoring alone, is that an indicator that they could potentially be limited as far as understanding the game of basketball? Because, you if you understand Draymond Green's value at all, you know that his value on the team is not in scoring. He's been able to step up and score big points occasionally. Like I told you before, occasionally he's played like an all-star. For the most part, he plays like an above-average NBA player. But what I'm saying is, why ask a guy who's a non-scorer to step up? And I'll give you an example. If James Harden and Russell Westbrook get injured, are we going to ask PJ Tucker to step up and score 20 a game? And so why put Draymond in that role? Although he has talked a lot of trash in the past, why are we holding him to the standard of just scoring more points and then ignoring the fact that he does so many other things on the court?
Well, I'm not gonna speak for them because they don't. That's their opinion. So That's not my business. But for me, I personally feel I feel like Draymond put his mind to it. I feel like Draymond could average like 16, 9, and 8. That's how I personally feel. That's how, like, based on his ability and just watching him over the years, I feel like he can average like 16 points, 7, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, or something like that. Because I think people forget he's a very smart basketball player. He's a basketball savant, and I don't think it's enough credit for that. Not trying to bash him or not trying to overbash him. You give credit where credit is due. But that's how I feel, and I feel like, bro, if you really put your mind to it, like I see what you do with Steph and Clay. I feel like you could literally be the linchpin of them being unstoppable. Because there's sometimes in the past where I watched the Warriors offense and it's like they're playing 4-on-5 basketball with Draymond on the court, and I know I've been know he isn't a good great shooter, but I feel like if his percentage went up about 3 to 4%, if his points per game, assists per game went up by like 20%, a little bit, if he just raised his game a little bit more, I feel like that would amplify the Warriors even more. And that's how I feel about Draymond, is that he can he's doing good for where he is in his position, but I feel like he can elevate himself, and I haven't seen that yet.
So Do you think that, with regards to just this past season, do you think that him going out to just try to go out and get 17 to 20 points a game, whether he could have done it or we don't know, but do you think that him going out trying to do those things, don't you think that would be a bit selfish, knowing that this year was primarily a developmental year for the young guys, who can help them fill out their roster for next year where they can truly be competitive, as opposed to trying to prove a point to nobodies, who didn't play a role in them winning 3 championships. I feel like if he goes out this year and he tries to prove to people that he can score 20 a game in a meaningless season, that's no better. That's equivalent to when we talk about LeBron James staying in games late when it's a blowout, just to pad his stats. Will we then just say he's stat padding, or do you think this excuse will we find a new way to, even if he would have averaged 17 and 10 this year, would we have found a new way to bash him and simply said, oh, he's just stat padding. He was staying in the game in a lot of those blowouts. He was being selfish. He wasn't helping. Are we just finding reasons to hate Draymond? Or what do you think he should have done this year?
I mean, for me personally, I'd say if you have the ability to do what I think you can do, you should go out and do it. Personally, I wouldn't think he would have been stat padding, because if he averaged 16, 17 points, that's what I believe he can do if he puts his mind to it. I don't think that would be stat padding points. Pascal, Eric Pascal would still have his 15, 16 points he would be averaging. Jordan Poole, I think he was averaging 9, 10 points a game. Kai Bowman, he was doing his thing. So there was still been points to go around. Mm-hmm. It's just, I just feel like Draymond could have been at that level if he put his mind to it. And, if people think, oh, he's just stat padding, that's just adding on reasons to hate. You judge a player by what he produces day in and day out on the court. You don't judge him by preconceived notions and preconceived aberration. That's just not right.
So are we judging him just off this one season, or are we taking into consideration the past 6 seasons where he was great?
I mean, for me, I never considered him great. I consider him good, above average, but I never considered him great. The years that the Warriors in the playoffs and they was winning chips, I considered him a good piece to have. I just never considered him great. Mm-hmm. And I just include this year where they were horrible, but you include all those years, and if all those years add up, he's been in the league since I think 2012. Now, I say for the Warriors, he's been a good piece. You take this 1 year, it's a bad year. Averages went career low in minutes. Had 2 back-to-back injuries, like you said. But overall, in my opinion, his whole 7-8 year career, he's been a pretty good piece to them. Mm-hmm. Now, as a player, in terms of Hall of Fame standards, one thing that I will vehemently disagree with. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. And maybe people say, oh, you're just hating. But in my opinion, I don't think he's the first ballot, second ballot Hall of Famer. Now, will he get in? Probably, because I believe the NBA people that vote for him will probably vote him in once he retires, after 15, 20 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I agree that he's been good most of his career. I think he's had great seasons. I wouldn't say that he's been. I would say that he's been great all his career. He's had really good seasons, but I don't know. I just think that when we talk about, Draymond Green, I think we're a little biased, because I can ask you a few questions. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Is James Harden great?
Yes.
Is John Wall an all-star caliber player in this league?
Yes.
Kawhi Leonard? Jimmy Butler,
Huh?
Giannis,
Yeah.
Westbrook,
Huh?
Rudy Gobert,
Yeah.
um, Curry.
Yeah.
Um, these are all players who we consider great players. What these players have in common with Draymond Green, these were all the players that were on the All NBA team when he got selected All NBA. And so when he made an All NBA team and he's on this list with all of these great players, my question is, how do you make this list with all of these great players and you're not great yourself in what you do?
I mean, like, well, no, it's like it's impossible. Like, if you're on an All NBA team, like you have to be, like great at what you do. Now, considering Draymond, I don't think he's been like consistently great throughout his career. But I don't think I don't think he's just some run of the mill, just anybody just a regular Joe. I think he's a good piece to have. Now it's hard to judge him because one, he doesn't have the flashy numbers like Curry or Harden or Westbrook. He doesn't have those flashy numbers. I think his hustle on the defensive end, his ability to push the pace and to keep the pace at a very fast level or fast pace, is significant. And for him to make an All NBA team, basically as a hustle player, basically as a second hand facilitator, that's something to be proud of. But individually, his game, like over the years, I'll say good, but I won't say he's been just great his whole career. I'll give him good.
Mm-hmm. And I only say that because for me, there are at least 2 seasons, I would say 16 and 17, where he played great. Those were the 2 years that he made an All NBA team. And this is why I always, and the reason why I asked you that question, I start naming off those players, because we love all of those other players on that list. We love the Damian Lillards, Paul Georges, Kawhi Leonards. We love these guys. And again, when it comes to Draymond Green, I feel like people find excuses for everything that he's accomplished. And it's not just the All NBA teams. We got to think the All Defensive teams that he made 5 times. We have to think about the Defensive Player of the Year. We have to think about not just the Defensive Player of the Year, but the 2 years before that, where he was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. The championships, some of the great playoff series that he had, against New Orleans in 2018, he averaged a triple-double for that whole playoff series. Against Portland, if you remember, Portland was up big in all 4 of those games, but Golden State still found a way to sweep them. And that was primarily due to Draymond Green. I think he came close to averaging another triple-double in that series at 16 points a game. He filled the stat line all across the board. And I think we always find a way to, because of what he does off the court, we always find excuses for everything that he accomplishes. And I know a lot of people say that in that last championship run, they say that he fell off that season. Why do you think people say that he fell off that season?
Last championship run. Well, one he did admit he was overweight. He did admit that. But he did. I think he said he lost about 15 pounds. He went into and throughout the playoffs. But that season, then the last championship where they had the 7-game series against Houston, he did say he was feeling lethargic. I think that's why his numbers went down. But in my opinion, that season, I say, it was all right. But I understand why people say like he fell off. I don't think he fell off. I just think his weight, and I think a couple of reasons he might have had a few knick-knack injuries. That's the reason why his numbers went down. But still, I think he did show up big in the finals. His defensive player efficiency rating was, I think, the second highest on like both teams, second behind LeBron. But he did play well against the finals. In the finals, even though I did think he kind of got cooked by Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love averaged 20 and 10 next finals. But I don't think like people say he just had this big, this humongous cliff that he fell off. I think he had a drop off, but it wasn't as bad as people say.
Yeah, and that's what I know. I hear Ticket talking about that Toronto series a lot. And again, I look at his numbers from that Toronto series. They asked what he did. The man basically averaged a triple double for the whole series, and he had 2 games where he dropped 19 rebounds. But I hear a lot of people say that Patrick Siakam outplayed him. I give you that. Patrick Siakam outplayed him on certain possessions. But I think what Siakam was able to do was a credit to how much firepower they actually had on the court as well, compared to what Golden State had. And I just think it would be disingenuous to not admit at least that much. They did have a lot of firepower. Fred VanVleet is probably going to sign a really big contract. Norman Powell is a really good player that doesn't get a credit. Serge Ibaka's been to the finals before. He's a great player. Marc Gasol's underrated. He's been one of the best big men in the NBA for a long time. And we still haven't even talked about Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry and Danny Green. I mean, this was a loaded Toronto team. And like I said, it could be used as an excuse, but they outmanned Golden State by a long shot when you look at the injuries. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's just an excuse? Hey, I'm getting some feedback from your mic. Your mic's not working right.
Hold on.
Oh, hold on. Say something again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
So, in my personal opinion, I think Draymond could have hit some wide open shots that he missed. I remember him missing wide open shots, but that's just me being. When it comes to the series, I think even if Kevin Durant was healthy, I think that would have been a tough series for Golden State. Basically, because Toronto was a hellacious defense. They were crazy on defense. They can match up. They can match up with Kyle Lowry with good teams, Draymond Green with good teams. So they can be physical with playing Steph. Although Game 3 play showed up for a reason, got injured. But they could have been very physical with Steph and Clay. The KD was healthy.
Hey, we got some audio issues with you, Mr. Big Chest. I'm not sure what's going on with your mic.
I don't know, man. I don't
Like
know.
whenever you talk close to the mic, I can hear you loud and clear. But when you back away from it, it's some big time audio issues right there. You might have to just talk close for the rest of the interview.
I'll just talk close.
Okay. That's good right there. But just
go
ahead.
No, but like I said, I think Siakam did give Draymond problems, but I think it was just a defense without KD. It was just a defensive mismatch because you can throw bodies at Steph, you can throw bodies at Clay, and when Clay was out, like you could just focus on Steph. And I feel like yes, Draymond could have hit some wide open shots, and other players, including McKinney, Iguodala, um, what's his name? I forgot the dude. Quinn Cook. Yeah, he could have hit some shots, but it was just I think Nick Nurse had a great game plan. To focus on Curry, do the boxing one thing, and just play physical. Now in Game 6, I will admit Draymond did cause Kawhi to turn the ball over, which gave the ball back to the Warriors, and that's when Steph missed that that turnaround fadeaway 3 off the Draymond pin down. I do give him credit for that. Personally, I did think Steph should have taken it into the hole because he had a lane to the basket. But that's just me being nitpicky. But if you look at that Raptors series, and if you look at that Raptors team from top to bottom, one, they were long, they were physical, and they were more aggressive than the Warriors. They played more aggressive than the Warriors. They played more physical than the Warriors did. They out-rebounded the Warriors, I think, in most of the games. And, And the Warriors, they've never been a physical team to begin with. Even before KD, they were more like a finesse team. They play based off finesse. It's more screens, pin downs, and all this stuff. And then you get the rebound, use the fast break to get your offense going. So they've never been like a physical team. That's why LeBron basically can, average big numbers on them because he can control the plays. Kawhi did the same thing too. So, it was just a good game plan. Expose the Warriors' biggest weakness, which is, they just not physical.
Gotcha. So, as we wrap it up on this Warriors segment, just Draymond Green, we're going to get the final verdict on Draymond Green. Is Draymond Green a good player in the NBA today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to disrespect his game. He's a good player. I can't go as far as say superstar or anything like that, but when you look at where he came from to where he's at now, a lot of people would say he shouldn't even be in the NBA. He should be playing overseas somewhere. So, like I said, we gonna end on that note. That was a good build about the Warriors, man. I appreciate all that information. But now, we gonna spend the next couple minutes, and as we end this podcast, we're at a point now where we know the NBA is they're going to try to make this happen, regardless of coronavirus, regardless of the social issues. We're at a point now where we see that they're going to make this happen. Regardless of who plays, what the rosters look like, is going to happen. What team do you think is going to present the biggest problems, or who could actually create the biggest upset in this type of tournament format?
Personally, in my opinion, I think the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because they're young. I think the oldest players, Kemba Walker, and he's like 28, 29. But mainly because, they're starting five. You have Kemba, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, and what's his name? Tatum. Yeah.
Yep.
Jason Tatum. All four ball handlers. They can ball handle it. They can handle the ball. Then you got Marcus Smart coming off the bench. I don't know if they're gonna have Carson Edwards. I think he still might be G League, but if they do have Carson Edwards, the rookie out of Purdue, he's a nice shooter to have. They got some good pieces like Tice and Yabusele, and Enes Kanter, that can provide some, good scoring down low. But I really feel like, it's just going to be like this super hyped AAU tournament type feel. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, teams that are going to be rusty, they're not going to be able to run, solid sets. And you're going to have a bunch of ISO ball. Yeah. So I feel like the Boston Celtics, they have the ball handlers that can create opportunities not only for themselves, but for other teammates. So they have the biggest chance, to pull off some kind of upset, maybe beat the Bucks somehow and get to the finals. Mm-hmm. So that's my pick as, who can provide like the upset and all that.
Yeah. My sleeper too was the Boston Celtics. I like them though. The youth plays a big factor, but for me it's the coaching. And the one thing about Brad Stevens is night in and night out, regardless of where they're playing, he always has his team prepared. He always comes with an elite game plan. And he's always going to give you the toughest matchup, especially in some type of playoff setting. And we've seen it time and time again in the past. And I think teams like the Bucks, the Lakers, Clippers, these are all teams that, if they find themselves facing a Boston Celtics team, they could be in for a rude awakening if they don't bring their A game. Because the one thing that those dudes play, that one thing they do night in and night out is they all play hard. They might not make shots every night. They might not play the greatest defense every night, but they're always going to play fast. They're going to play hard. And then Brad Stevens is going to make sure that they execute. And that's something that's been consistent with them over the last couple of years. And when you look at their roster from top to bottom, it's not the most impressive-looking roster. There's other teams with more impressive rosters, but not a lot of teams find themselves having the same continued year after year success that they find themselves having. Even when they are missing players like a Kyrie Irving, even this year when Kemba Walker was out a little bit, and, I think Jaylen Brown was out a few games, they still always find a way, to overcome and be great. So that's also my sleeper as well. And here's actually it was a breaking news topic this morning. What do you think about Maker committing to Howard University, the first top 50 recruit to commit to a HBCU?
Honestly, I think it's great, for HBCUs, one, to get that marketability back that they haven't had in a long time. Especially for Howard, I think that's the school he committed to, if I'm correct.
Yep, Howard University.
Yeah. And, it's, I think, we need to get our HBCUs, back, on the map, when it comes to athletics. I know that, here where I live, there's HBCUs, two of them. I think it's Jackson State and Tennessee State, which is, right up the road from me. And, they're, trying to get their notoriety back in their athletic programs. But I think if you have more athletes, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, declining to go to these big schools like Duke, Kentucky, UCLA, all these Power 5 schools, and just, selling for HBCU, not only will you see the rise in the equity and the monetary value of these HBCUs, but, the growth that we'll have, especially in the Black community. I think there'll be more opportunities, for students to see it at a high level at these schools.
Mm-hmm. See, and this is, for me, because, I've been in the college basketball scene, so I know about HBCUs, was recruited by them. I understand it. The one thing that I don't want to see here, I don't want to see them botch this opportunity. One thing you have to do when you're an HBCU and you're bringing these elite level players in, now you have to invest in better facilities. You have to invest in the team. You have to invest in better gear. Now you have to up your game so you can maintain this. You don't want to get satisfied because you got Maker. Now you got to find a way to invest in your program, make it better and more attractive so you can continue to bring in these recruits. Do you think these HBCUs are going to capitalize on this? Because, again, bringing in players like this is automatically going to increase revenue. Ticket sales are going to skyrocket. What do you think they should do to capitalize on this so it's just not a one-year thing, that it's a continued trend that we see going forward in the future?
I think, for HBCUs to continue to have success like Howard did and to grab these marquee high school players, they're gonna have to change they're gonna have to change how they do things. They're just gonna have to overhaul it because, I look at some facilities, for me, I've been inside of TSU's, practice facility. Mm-hmm. It's not very kept up tight. You got good people in there, but it could be better. And I know there's funding coming in, but in my opinion, you're just gonna have to, start over, come up with a plan to get interest towards your program. And then once you get those players, or once you get those athletes or students, build off of that, keep increasing, keep improving, because if you want to be as big as some of these big schools like Kentucky, Duke, and all that stuff, mm-hmm. you're gonna have to keep evolving because there's competition out there. Mm-hmm. Those schools are still gonna go after these high school athletes, and especially these next couple of years, you're gonna have you have the most talented high schoolers, coming mm-hmm. out. Monty Bates is coming out in a couple years. I think Josh Christopher is coming out. Mm-hmm. Brian James, Bryce James, all these players, Mikey Williams, all these players are just, coming from the cut up, and, they might want something different, and HBCUs could provide that difference and that spark that, is desperately mm-hmm. needed. But, you have to have a foundation, which I hope they do. And once you have that foundation, you must build off of it and continue to build off of it. You can't stop. Yep. You can't get complacent. The day you get complacent, it's the day that those big schools pass you, and they will leave you behind real quick. Yeah,
because I can already see it. I can already see schools like Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina. I can already see them upping their game plan right now. I can already see them bringing these kids onto their campus, showing them a lot more. And it's unfortunate, but these young kids today, that's what they like to see. When they come in and see these luxurious practice facilities, these plush locker rooms, extravagant, extravagant dining facilities for athletes, they look at things like that. What is their quality life going to be like when they're here on this campus? And like I said, I really want to see these HBCUs, especially when they eventually get some of these players. You got to capitalize on it. And I know LSU is not a traditional HBCU, but they had Ben Simmons for a season, and they failed to really capitalize on it, and follow up with more recruits. They failed to upgrade their facilities. They failed to make their program more attractive. And again, I see this time and time again, with big name players going to these smaller schools, and these schools just kind of settle and they don't find a way to build on it like Gonzaga did, and just be better, not just for a few seasons, but for the long term. Gonzaga's been good for the last 20 years now. And before then, they were non-existent. So I just really hope that they can really take advantage of this, build on it, and invest in their program, and know that even though they're going to spend millions investing into their basketball program now, it's going to come back tenfold later down the line if they can continue to bring in recruits like Maker. If you can get a Mikey Williams to your school, if you can get a DJ Wagner to your school, it's going to pay off tenfold. Not just money wise, but again, you know how much money you're bringing into the black community. You're giving people jobs, because again, you're going to need more people on those ticketing staffs. You're going to need more people manning those games. It's going to create jobs in these communities. It's going to give people hope. It's going to give people something to cheer for, and it's going to boost up the reputation of some of these schools. So I definitely appreciate Maker stepping out there, saying that he wants to be the first one to commit to a HSBCU, even though he might be a one and done. Again, that's a big time commitment for somebody that young, and what it does is for me, it really puts a target on all these NBA players. All these NBA players who said they were willing to sit out for these social issues, make that sacrifice. You don't realize it now, but Maker's making a big sacrifice right now, passing up all of these big name schools to go to Howard. He's passing up a lot. He's sacrificing a lot. I'm waiting to see one NBA player step forward and say, I'm sitting out due to these social issues. I don't feel like the NBA is doing enough. I don't feel like Black Lives statements on jerseys is enough. And again, like Ticket TV said, he said a lot of guys were on that boat, but now we starting to see them fall to the wayside, and they're not standing their ground like they were before. I'm gonna let you end off that. I'm gonna let you end off that little point. Just let me know what you think about that, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
I agree with you on that, and with the whole NBA players, in the social issues. Personally, I think they say, we want to support, but they're not going to go after the juggler because it's going to mess with their bottom line, which is their money. And going for the juggler and calling out these people to get change is basically economic equality for minorities, and very few people will touch that. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King was killed because he was going for that. Yeah. And very few people will get that controversial, will go for the jugular. But if you really want change, you're gonna have to go there. And if you want to, if you might have to risk, millions of dollars, But at the end of the day, I'd rather be known for, I'd rather be doing what is right and what is morally correct than, focused on, the millions that I could have made and the millions that I got. Because, money doesn't last forever. Money is just a physical object that people use to, do stuff with. Having the freedom of what you want to do with that, having the freedom of opportunity, that's something that can last for generations. I wish these people, some of these players, I feel like when it comes to that specific subject, I feel like they get selfish, and maybe it's out of fear. And if I was in that position, I probably wouldn't, with that much money on the line, I probably wouldn't know what to do. But since I'm not, and this is my opinion, I feel like your children, your children's children, and their children, generations generations down the line, they're gonna be the benefit of what you sow right now. And I believe wholeheartedly in what you sow, you shall reap. So, choose to be on the right side of history. Mm-hmm. Choose to be on the right side of history. Go for economic equality. We can fix some of these problems that we have. We can fix the issues of that redlining has caused. We can fix the issues of crime in our communities. We can actually build. It's crazy how these white people, they talk about, well, what about black on black crime? If we go for that juggler and all that stuff, we can bring more light into the organizations that are against the gang violence and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade has an organization in Chicago, I think, for that builds up young black men.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of organizations around the country that are for young black men, young black women, to build them up into an education system, but they don't have the funds and they don't have the notoriety because we're blocked off from money due to certain laws that have been put in place. But if somebody was bold enough, somebody in power like a LeBron James, like a KD, like a Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, people like that have the clout and have the power, if they were willing to say, I'm going to put my money aside and focus on doing what was right, I think we can have some literal change. Because like when they talk, specifically LeBron, when LeBron talks, LeBron's statues listen. It's like a sheep following their master. Like they listen.
Yeah.
And he can get that done. But that's my opinion on that.
No, I feel you, and I like the points you made about the players not wanting to sacrifice their money. And one of the reasons why, and I think it's just the mentality around money, because a lot of these guys, and I would say essentially almost every guy, I can on a Phoenix team, I can maybe only name one player on the team who was probably rich prior to even touching an NBA check, but every time these guys get paid, it's like they're hitting the lottery. Every time these guys get paid, it's like hitting the lottery, And coming from some of the poverty that some of these guys came from, I can understand why they don't want to put that type of money at risk. I can see why they're a bit selfish in that aspect, because we got to look at some of these communities that they grew up in. We got to look at the mindsets that they grew up under. And we got to also blame ourselves, because with regards to my parents, my parents did a great job of raising me. But again, they didn't teach me about credit. They didn't teach me about investments and finances. Obviously, school systems aren't going to do that. And that's being taught in white households, before they even finish high school. I know white families who give their kids prepaid credit cards to help them learn how to manage credit in high school. Are we doing that in black households? And is that, like I said, I think that's one of the reasons why, when these NBA players, these young black men get these checks, like I said, it's like hitting the lottery. These guys are getting $500,000 and $600,000 checks, on the 1st and the 14th of every month, man. That's like hitting the lottery twice a month, man. We would love to just have one of those checks. They're getting it twice a month. So again, it's just our mindset, like you said. It's something that we got to make sure that we got to hold people accountable and make them help us implement programs or systems to help just put in a long-term fix, as opposed to, again, what the NBA is putting out there now is patches on jerseys. I don't think that's not gonna fix anything. So I agree with Ticket TV, at least on that point right there. But hey, we gotta wrap this up, man. I appreciate you coming on to the show today, man. Before we get out of here, let everybody know all your social media information. We also gonna put it on the screen up here as well. But hey, shout it out to everybody now so they can go follow you on social media.
All right, so thank you for having me on tonight. For everybody, in the comment section in the chat, my Instagram is King Flip, 2 G's. It has 2 G's in the name, King Flip. My Snapchat is Dr. Phil Good 8. So it's like Dr. Phil and then add good and then the number 8. And then just subscribe to my YouTube.
Okay.
Trying to be more active on that. It's Mr. Big Chest and everything. Thank y'all. Thank you for having me on. Please stay blessed. And I'll be happy to come on another time. We ain't busy, man. We can chop it up again, man.
All right. Hey, definitely. Hey, you can come on anytime, man. Like I said, my schedule's open. Hey, make sure y'all go follow him on YouTube. It's Mr. Big Chest on YouTube. It's easy to find. There's not too many pages like that. But again, just like us, just like LB, just like Mahari, I mean, we all seedling YouTubers. We're all trying to grow. So again, like I said, I appreciate when these brothers come on to my show. That's why I always go out and support their platforms. So make sure you go to this man's YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, and I keep telling y'all, don't just subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell every time on all of these pages. So when they put out content, you are always aware of it. Like, you want to be aware of the content because, again, he's a very talented brother. He does more than just talk sports, man. I mean, he has skills. He plays drums. You know, I think he previously played sports before. So, again, make sure you are reaching out to this guy on all social media platforms. But, hey, it's FYF Sports, man. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video. If you got any questions for Mr. Big Chest, hey, put it in the comment section. Let him know. Hey, he's not going to shy away from any smoke. But, again, it's been a great episode, man. Hey, Big Chest, again, appreciate you for coming to the show. But it's FYF Sports, man. We out with another great podcast episode.